Hi everybody. We're going to create another drawing today. We did something very simple the last time, a little dining room table, and I'd like to create something that you see on screen right now. It's a little, call it module of a modular building design. And what I'd like to do is basically create some walls, a door, a window, and then the casework for the inside. So the counters indicate where the sink would go, also show the chairs and where the appliances would be positioned. So I'm going to close this. This was just a test I was doing. And I'll start a brand new drawing. I'm going to go up to the new button here. It gives me the select template, a dialog box where I will, like I did last time, open with no template imperial. And the first thing is change my units. So I will set my units to architectural, and 1/8 of an inch is equal to a foot, already set to inches. Okay, so let's start drawing. And what I will do is start with a 12 by 12 box, basically. So I'll draw a line 12 feet long, and as I believe happened last time, went off the screen, and we can't seem to zoom out using our mouse wheel, so I'll hit escape to end the command. Now I can zoom out, and I'll just restart the line command by typing L and then completing my rectangle. Alright, so you can see here I'm just entering coordinates until I get to the end here. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use a command called offset, which I believe we may have used before, but if not, let me introduce it to you either again or for the first time. Offset you can find in the menus. That looks like the command there. Once again, I prefer typing, and many of these commands, especially the basic ones, is a single letter shortcut. So I'll type here O and press enter, and it gives me here the option, or it asks me, well, what's your offset distance? And I'll start here by offsetting from this rectangle 2 units to the outside. So like that. Okay, that represents basically the finish from, we'll call it a construction line, and you'll see once I finish, it's sort of like the core line of a wall. I'll just hit enter to repeat the offset command. This time I'm going to change the distance to 6. And I'll start offsetting now towards the inside. So there, that one, and this one. And this wall here is a little bit different. So I'm going to offset just 3 units. This is kind of like an adjoining wall for this modular element. Now at this point, I'm going to clean up some of these intersections, and one of the easiest way I find is to use a command called Fillet. And Fillet is here, and you'll see actually when you click on it, Fillet is set to a radius of 0. So instead of actually rounding off the edge, when the radius is 0, it'll just do clean corners. So this is pretty practical and a very quick way of cleaning up. Now, one thing I do sort of very, unconsciously, because I'm very used to it, is I hit the space bar and it repeats the command. As you can see here, we're back to the command prompt, and I just hit the space bar again and do another fillet there. So I'll finish this off here, and I'll leave this one unfilleted because I want to add here a little opening. So I'm going to once again go into offset by pressing O. The opening will be 36 inches wide. I'll use this line, and I'll use fillet, always pressing on the sides that I want to keep, and now creating a bit of an opening there in the wall. And I'll leave this part of the line because it represents the floor. Okay, so now I'm going to start on the lower part here where I have a door. So I will start by once again offsetting, and I'll use this line. First offset 4 inches, and then I'll offset 36 inches. Now I want those lines to cross over the wall, so I use the move command, and again I did that very quickly without showing you what I was doing. I type M, press enter. I'll select, using a crossing box, the 2 lines, press enter again, and then drag it down so it crosses the wall. Okay, so now I'm going to use the trim command, which we may or may not have seen. So I'll click on trim either up here, or this one uses 2 letters, TR. Now trim, you can just go ahead and just click on parts that you want to remove. Okay, and I'll remove basically those parts of those offset lines and leave it at that. Now I want to start a window in this area, and I want that window to be centered on the inside space. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start the line command again. Alright, now if I bring my cursor, you can see here that it finds the midpoint of the line, but it's finding the midpoint of the line for the entire length here. So that's not really what I want. What I want really is the midpoint between that point here and that point there. So AutoCAD has this nice tool for this, which I'll access by pressing the Shift key and right click. It says mid between 2 points. So I'll select that, and then I'll click here and I'll click there, and you can see it's snapping to those 2 endpoints. And then I'll just draw a line vertically. Now I want that window to be approximately 5 feet. So guess what? I'll use the offset command and offset 30 inches or 2'6" on both sides. Okay, so now at this point I want to actually get rid of these lines, but I don't want to get rid of them permanently. I just want to remove them temporarily from the screen. So I'm going to introduce something that is very fundamental to using CAD, something called layers. And we're just going to use it for a very simple purpose at this point. So I'm going to go here to click on this button here in the Home tab, Layer Properties. Oops, it was already open. So Layer Properties typically will come up in a dialog box which floats on your screen. Okay, and if you want to see this on your screen, I typically suggest to people is to take that and click on the bar here and just drag it here to the left side of your screen, and it will, as you drag it to the lower part, it will go underneath the properties panel if you have it available or if it's open. And that gives you kind of a nice little layout. Properties are useful to have on your screen all the time, as well as having the layers property manager. So we're going to click here in the layer properties manager where it says this button here, create a new layer. Okay, so it creates a layer called layer 1. It's ready for us to actually rename it. So I'm going to rename this 0_temp. Okay, and that's something I've gotten used to over the years, calling this sort of construction layer, if you would, temporary, and I always prefix it with a 0 so it comes to the top of the layer list. I'll change the color to red, and I won't use red ever again in my layers, simply because I want to know if anything happens to be on the temp layer. So I'm going to select these lines, okay, and I have a couple of different ways of moving those lines to this layer. I can do it here in properties, or I can do it here in this pull down list, and I'll just choose to do it there for now. Once you've changed it, I'll hit escape. Okay, it unselects the lines, and you can see now that the lines are red. If I want to remove those from the screen, I can just go here to layer properties, click on the little light bulb, and those lines disappear. Okay, so let's continue with doing our door and window. I'm just going to do this quite simply. I'm going to draw a 36 inch line, and then a 2-inch line this way, and then come back, draw vertically, and then type C to close. For here, the window, let's start by offsetting 5 inches, approximate depth of a window frame, and then we'll trim TR this part and that part. And you can see one of the things that trim does that maybe we don't like so much is it leaves a little bit of line behind sometimes. So here we'll erase this. All right, and this little segment, I'll need this in a second as I continue to draw my window. Let's draw a 2-inch offset here, and another 2-inch offset here, and in the middle we'll offset 1 inch on both sides. Okay, and we need to trim this up now, so let's do trim and click on the areas that we want to trim, and when we have a whole bunch of them together, we can click and click, and it gets kind of a fence line drawn that removes all those lines together. This little middle line here, I'm going to keep that, but I will transfer it to the temp layer. So I'll select it, click here, go to temp, and you can see it disappears, and it actually prompts you, warns you that you're moving that to a layer that is off. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw, let's say, a line here to the midpoint, which represents a window glass, and in here we'd like to do our door swing. So we want to draw an arc. Now you can just type A for arc, but this is actually, I think, a really good place where you would use the menus, because there are so many different varieties or different ways that you can draw arcs, that it's good to go and look at this and kind of use some of these options here. These are just basically macro commands of the arc command but they're sort of well presented. So like here, in our case, we want to draw our arc in this way. We want to pick a start point, we want to pick a center, and then pick an end point. So which is this one right here. Start, center, end. Now, you have to be careful whenever you use this option that you draw your arc counterclockwise. Okay, otherwise you'd have to do this a different way. Okay, so let's start now on our counters. So I'm going to use offset, 24 inches. I'm going to offset a sufficient amount of space for between my counters, and then I'm going to actually repeat the 36-inch offset for an island, and actually let's just repeat offset and do 12 inches inside. So this would be an upper part of the counter or island, and this would be a lower part where you would use to eat. So I'm going to just connect my endpoints here. Okay, here I will draw a line as well, but you'll see that it's just a temporary thing. So I want to position a sink here, a refrigerator there, and a stove here. So I'm going to give myself about an inch here past what is typically a typical stove size, and here again I offset that, and I did that really quick, but I did an offset of not the right amount apparently. Okay, let me do that again. So let me offset from there. I'm going to offset 31 inches. All right, and from here I'm going to use the same amount. So this is again where my fridge goes, that's where my stove's going to go. And from here I'll just take all these lines and offset them in about half a unit, so half an inch. Okay, just so I'm showing that I'm leaving a little bit of space, and from this line I'll offset out 24 inches. So I got a whole bunch of lines all over the place here. It's a little bit of a mess, so I better start using Fillet to clean things up, otherwise I won't know what I'm doing very soon. So let's do this. Okay, so this will be my stove. Okay, and let's check with the distance command, DI. This distance, 2'7", that's good. And I'll do the same thing here, offset half an inch from the back, from the side. Okay, and then I'll, this line I don't need anymore, so I erase it. And I'll make this a little bit deeper than the counter, so I'm going to do this 26 inches. Okay, and I'll start cleaning things up now. And I will offset 30 inches from this line, and then use Fillet. Okay, so you can see this is going kind of very fast at this point, and you're able to do this because you're using typed in shortcuts. Okay, so I just offset that line 2 inches and then 1 inch. So that's my fridge. My stove, I'll offset the back 4 inches. Okay, and then I want to position some circles that would represent the electrical burners. So what I'll do is I'm going to draw a line down the center from here to there. And then I will do the following. I will start my circle command, C. I'll use shift right click, midpoint between 2 points. And I will select the midpoint here and the end point there. So that's kind of the midpoint between the diagonal. Okay, click, and you can see that positions that in a nice place. So let's use 4 inches as the radius. I'll take this circle, mirror it using the midpoint here, draw the mirror line like this. Okay, no, you don't want to erase the source objects, and typically these burners are a little bit smaller. So what I'll do, as you can see, is I selected the circle, click on the grip. Okay, once the grip is selected, I'll type 3. Makes it a bit smaller. I'll take both of these and mirror them to the other side. Okay, vertically. Now, of course, this typically is not like this on these kinds of stoves. So I want to now flip them front to back. So I will mirror them again. So this time, use a horizontal mirror line. Okay, but here when it asks me, do you want to erase your source objects, I'll say yes. So it does a mirror, but it doesn't copy them. It just simply mirrors the original objects. This line I don't need anymore. Okay, so let's draw a sink here, and I'll keep this pretty simple. So I'll draw approximately a 24-inch sink. Okay, I draw a line right down the middle, offset it 12 inches on both sides, offset 2 inches here to the back too. And now when I do a fillet, I will add a radius to my fillet. Okay, so I chose here at the bottom radius, and I'll type in a radius of 2. So that will add a little rounding to my sink. Okay, all right. So I'm going to eliminate this line, erase it, and I will now offset another line like this. Okay, to represent the inside of the sink. And you can see here I can also offset my arcs. Now I didn't do the back, because the back, what I want to do is offset this line 3 inches. Change the offset distance to 3 inches. And here I cannot offset my arcs, so I have to repeat the fillet command by typing F. Now my fillet radius is no longer 2 inches, it's now this radius, which is 1. So I'll switch my radius now to 1. So now I'll be able to do that radius, and there we go. Now if you remember, we drew some chairs in the previous exercise. So what I'm going to do here is I want to grab those chairs and actually bring them into this drawing. So I'm going to go ahead here and go to my menu and click Open. So it opens here, and I actually have this conveniently there, but if you have to navigate, if you've organized this somewhat like I have, I'm going to go here to Chapter 3, where I actually created that drawing. So the table dining small is how I eventually named it, and I'll open that file. So it opens it simultaneously. So you can see here we have a couple of tabs on top now, right? We have drawing 3, which actually represents the drawing which I have yet to save, which is a really bad thing. So before I do anything else, I'm going to do a save, Control S. It's going to prompt me, and I'm working here in this folder. So I'll just give this a name, kitchen module. Okay, and you can see I've already done this a couple of times. And I don't know, I'll just make it a little bit differently just so it doesn't overwrite my other files. So back here to the small dining room table. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select these 2 chairs. Okay. Now we'll just use our copy and paste that we use normally in a lot of different programs. Control C. Okay, go to our kitchen module. Okay, and just do Control V. Okay, that brings those drawing elements into this file. So I just placed them anywhere, and now I'm going to move them here. Now, let's say I wanted to center them. I'll use Shift right click, mid between 2 points, from there to there, and now I'll put that at the midpoint of that line. Okay, so that kind of wraps up this part of today's video lesson. So I'll just turn this back on just so you can see the entirety of the drawing. So your temp layer is back on, and you save your file, and we'll see you again the next time.